Well, hey guys, welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back with a huge, amazing, awesome Wednesday. We had an episode of The Bad Batch, we had an episode of The Mandalorian, and I think both absolutely delivered. I am so excited to talk about both. We're going to start with Mandalorian. I got a little bit of a cold I'm still recovering from, so you can see I got my tea with my Mando and a grogu mug here, so I should be energized to talk about this. But guys, I was critical of episode 1. I said it was good, not great. I felt like there were some issues with some of the storytelling. I felt there's a lot of jumping. I was intrigued, but it just felt to me a little clunky, and not my favorite episode I've ever seen of Mandalorian. Now, this episode, while it did not go where I thought it was going to go, and in fact, it looks like some of the storylines that I wanted to see were not going to get at all, I still think this episode really delivered in some really great ways. In particular, I got to talk about this, guys. The visuals blew me away throughout the episode. I was just like jaw to the floor on this TV budget giving us this. Some of the just most fantastic shots I've seen in so long. It was so well done. And there are going to be spoilers ahead. So this is your warning. Spoiler review. If you want just a quick summary and you're going to go watch it yourself, I would give this episode, geez, I don't even know what my rating system would be. This is an A for me. This is an A rating. I think it was really good. Not perfect, not an A plus 100%. This is like a 90 on a test. You did a great job. You did really well. You're going to be pleased when you go home with this graded paper. So click away now. We're going to talk spoilers because this episode was called The Mines of Mandalore, and we went right to Mandalore way quicker than I expected. And to start off the episode, I was feeling a little bit nervous. It turns out that the whole driver of some of the first episode's plot, needing IG-11, no, we don't need it anymore. We got R5. I'm sure we'll return for IG at some point. I'm sure there'll be another reason we need him. But it just was like, oh yeah, we didn't need that. All right, let's go to Mandalore now. Which I felt was like, okay, like it furthered that feeling that episode 1 was just kind of pointless. But all was forgiven relatively fast because the minute we land on Mandalore, I know I'm skipping right into it. The minute we land on Mandalore, I'm blown away by the score, the visuals, and you guys know I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. I love the culture. I got my Darksaber over there. I absolutely adore them as a people, as a race, and I want so badly for this show to really be a Mandalorian show, which it hasn't been to this point, and I've loved it, but I was hoping this season would lean into that. And man, to see the ruins of Mandalore, calling back to what we've seen in the Clone Wars and Rebels, where at one time, well, in the Clone Wars specifically, where one time, this was a thriving community, this was a thriving city, to just see it reduced to nothing. And the characters talk about it. They're like, oh my gosh, it looks like it's centuries old. It wasn't that long ago. We used to live here, but the Empire punished us heavily, and they sure did. But beyond that, the shots of Mandalore are fantastic, breathtaking. The practical effects in this episode, there was creatures, there was unique spider droids, there were so many things here that looked so good. I mean, I don't want to spend the next 10 minutes just talking about the visuals, but I just could not believe how crisp they were. I mean, honestly, tip of the cap. The droids looked real. The flying creatures looked real. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I don't watch any reviews before mine. I stay off Twitter all day before I see the episode because I don't want to have my feelings kind of slanted. So I have no idea how the community feels about this episode. But I was personally just enthralled with these visuals. And I'm done now. I'm done. They looked amazing. I won't say anything more about it. But what's interesting about this episode is we go to this plot point that I thought was going to be much further down the line. I thought we were going to Mandalore later in the show, and it was going to be this big redemption moment, this big pivotal moment for Din. So to go so early, I was a little bit thrown off. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, like you're going to blow one of the big emotional notes so early in the season. And while true, I do think this episode actually set up some really big things that I can be more excited about going forward. So Bo-Katan is called in to save the day. Once we have, Din get captured, she really turned face very quickly. Last episode, even in this episode, she's like, hey, he's landing his ship here. I'm going to go out there and tell him I don't want to see his face again. And she kind of immediately snaps to, okay, I want to help Din, which was one of the only other kind of weird notes of the episode for me. It was just like such a quick change. But we know Bo-Katan has leaned into the hero role many times, and she references that here. And I do like how they played with her expectations. The trailers were telling you, oh, she's going to be the main villain. And now we see like, no, she's actually going to be one of the allies and pretty early on. And she continues to struggle with what her role in this conflict is. Her family ruled this. We hear more about her upbringing and how she went down to the mines of Mandalore and how her father died, and really enjoyed her character beats. And look, she is wielding the Darksaber extremely proficiently, and where I think the show is going. I know I'm jumping around, but you guys know me. I like to just give you my thoughts. I think where the show is going is, I think they're setting her up to be the leader of Mandalore. For a while, I was thinking maybe be Din Djarin because I thought it was the reluctant leader. I think the best leaders are the ones who don't want the mantle, and I don't think he wants the mantle. And so I thought it would be a really great arc for him to, like, he's learned to take responsibility and to love and to care through Grogu. He's learned about honor and discipline through his upbringing under the Mandalore Creed, and then he would ascend to be a great leader. But it actually seems it's going to be kind of Bo-Katan's redemption arc. And I say that because we see how easily she wields the Darksaber. Obviously, she's had to use it before, but Din, they made a point that Din still is struggling to use it in this episode. And look, the big reveal. I can't believe I didn't get this spoiled for me. I'm so thankful I didn't. They go to the mines of Mandalore. They go to bathe, and what's in the waters? The mythosaur. Like, they're real, and they're still alive. As almost like a mythical spiritual guidance for the Mandalorians. I absolutely loved it. And who comes to face with the mythosaur? It's Bo-Katan. You know, when I first watched it live, my thought was the mythosaur pulled Din Djarin under the water almost like you're worthy, you're a chosen. I think what actually happened is he just fell all the way down. He sank very fast. He was very armored. He sank all the way down, and then Bo-Katan saved him, and there was kind of like an awakening for Bo-Katan, like, oh, this is real. She was just dismissing the mythosaur just seconds earlier, saying how it didn't exist, and yeah, we took it as our symbol, you know, riding some fake creatures. She was just kind of had an awakening, and how is that going to impact her? I think quite heavily, and I think they're setting her up to be the new leader of Mandalore. So that's what I talk about when I say, you know, some assumptions I had on the narrative and what I kind of wanted to see. I think they're going to go a different way. But if it's done well, look, just because I want something does not mean it's the right answer. I have, you know, fan ideas and head ideas all the time, but good story, good direction can trump anything that I come up with in my head. And my ideas might be terrible if you actually did them. So I'm definitely open to see Bo-Katan take the lead there. That was just one change for me. Overall, guys, look, I am very surprised this first episode and the second episode didn't come out together, because I got to be honest with you. You know, I felt the first episode as a standalone episode was not a great season intro. I don't think it set up things extremely well. I think if that was the first ever episode of Mandalorian, for example, I don't think the hype for this show would have been large at all. So, you know, it just shows you patience is a virtue. If you just judge on that first episode, you might miss out on some great storytelling. But I'm surprised they didn't release the first two kind of combined as like an hour an episode. I think that might have been smart, but who cares? We got it now, and I think it was awesome. It's got me excited. I'm hyped up. I'm thinking about, you know, where this could go. I think when it comes to Mandalore, and in particular how, you know, in some of this press they're doing, Jon Favreau talked about there is no end written for the show. There's no big penultimate finish or a conclusion. That kind of threw me for a loop, because my expectations they were building to some sort of conclusion, some sort of ending for Din. And with that being open, I don't know what that means for the show. They've already apparently written season 4. So will they have large events on Mandalore? Will they actually have some sort of like real focus on the show of trying to restore Mandalore and to have battles against, you know, some of the Empire, or maybe even the new rebellion, or New Republic, excuse me. You know, I don't know. But I would love to see the show do that. I think the only gripe I've ever had with Mandalorian is I want it to take on some bigger story point at some time. I want to see them go for this big story arc, a big rewarding payoff. They've played it with this kind of more episodic, more quests. We go on little quests every week, which is great and it's charming, but I'd love, especially as the show comes to an end, that we get some big narrative payoff, some kind of conclusion here. But that's just my opinion. I've talked probably way too long on this. What did you guys think about this episode? Oh, excuse me. Told you the cold would only let me talk for so long. I really enjoy Mandalorian. One thing I said last week, I'll repeat here. I love just the community feels, love the positive vibes when the show comes out. I think it's really exciting. And guys, in just a second, I'm gonna record a video for Bad Batch. It blew me away too. I hope you guys are watching because it was phenomenal the last 2 weeks. I mean, I just can't believe how lucky we are to have the Bad Batch running right now. It is just too good. I couldn't be happier. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned in for the Bad Batch review and all the other videos to come. It's been a fun 2023. I'm looking forward to more Star Wars throughout the year. See you guys again very soon.